What orbitals should you play in Wonders of the First? Welcome to Wonders Workshop today, and I am super excited to talk about the different orbital dual orbital combos in Wonders of the First. They've each got their own kind of special theme to them, and I'm really excited to talk to y'all about them. Today, I'm just going to start by looking at one of these little cards and kind of talking about it as I go. If anybody opened any boxes, not bundles, you got one of these inside with the little breakdown inside. But I'm going to add my own little thoughts and stuff, so it's not just going to be me reading this. So I'm just going to launch right into it. I do want to let y'all know about something first. So I'm just going to hop on over to Cardi.io. So if you look at this, you see I'm in the deck portion of Cardi.io, and what I can do is in the name portion of the deck search, I can search budget. If I can spell, I can search budget. And you'll see that there are 15 decks here. There are 15 different color combos, all built by Kelveron. And they're all budget-friendly combo versions of each of the unique color orbital combos for Wonders of the First. They're each named after the specific orbital name that Wonders of the team has given them. So this is a really good way to kind of look at what a budget-friendly version of those decks might look like and how some of those abilities might combine. I think these are really awesome. Huge shout out to Kelveron for making these. I wanted to give him some kudos and put these out here because I do think they are a really good resource for people. If I'm ever really wanting to deep dive into how some of these can combo, I'm going to come in and look at one of these decks and show y'all a couple of the cards and what they look like, just so that you can kind of understand what I'm talking about. But until then, I just hope that y'all go take a look, see what it's about, and see if it gives you any ideas. So with that being said, I'm going to dive right into our first color orbital combo. It's a hard habit to break when I've been playing Magic for so long to remember to say orbital combos, not color combos. So please forgive me if I make that mistake once or twice or a lot in this video. But our first orbital combo is called Primal Greed, and it is Patria and Sulfera. The sheet describes it as hoard and buff your wonders to take an early lead and keep it with relentless attacks. To me, this makes perfect sense. If we look at how Patria typically plays, it's creatures that buff themselves early on, giving benefits for playing lands, for doing things that you do early game, or just playing cards. Some of the cards buff themselves or others when you play more Patrian cards. And Sulfera has two things that we tend to see, that I tend to see most frequently, that it would be really sensical in this in this orbital combo. It's got the Horde mechanic, which also buffs your creatures typically. For instance, Scaldar Grimshade, you get, with Horde 1, you get +2. Or there's other cards that with Horde 1 you get +2 every time you attack. It just depends on what the card says. So they tend to buff themselves the more stones you control, but they also have a lot of free attack mechanics. And as we all know, because we like Wonders, actions are the main economy of Wonders. And so, you know, to have free attacks in your hand or on the field that you can use to outpace and outramp your opponent with actions can be a huge thing, especially later in the game. So this is kind of what that orbital combo is doing. You're buffing yourself by winning early game, and then, as it said, you're keeping that lead and advantage with the action advantage that you're giving yourself with these free attacks. At least that's how I think that's going to play out. The next color combo is, or the next orbital combo is Patria and Tallwind, and it's called Tap Dance. It's described as tap enemy cards and untap your own to get repeatable tap abilities. And I think that's a really great thing, but I think it's definitely a little bit more for players who like to play more cerebrally, more strategically, is another way to put it. Don't get me wrong, that's one of my favorite ways to play. But if you are going for make your monsters big, go burr, you play Primal Greed. If you're looking for something with a little bit more complexity, a little bit more brain power put into it, then Tap Dance is a really good option for you. There are a lot of cards in Petraea and Tallwind that tap and untap based on abilities or other things happening. Tallwind also has a lot of cards that can return stuff to your hand, and then you can play them again and they come back into play untapped. Scarlet Devourer, for instance, allows you to return a card to your hand. You play it again, you either get its on arrival ability again or it comes back in untapped. So there's a lot of fun stuff there with Tap Dance. Next is Rotten to the Core, and that is Petraea and Umbrathine. So this says use minus counters to permanently decay and destroy those who oppose you. So this is going to be very similar to what it describes, using minus counters, so decreasing the power of your enemies. I think there will also be some graveyard play just by the nature of, what we see in both Petraea and Umbrathine, and I think that will synergize well, and I think we'll see more synergies over time as more cards come out. I'm just not 100% sure. This one I have seen less of this color combo, and so I'm a little less familiar with it. The next color combo is called Missionary. This is Petraea and Heliosynth. It says, copy your faith abilities to reach incredible heights of biosynthetic faith. This makes perfect sense. What Heliosynth has a bunch of is cards with faith ability. What Petraea has a bunch of are cards with symbiosis. Symbiosis allows you to copy the ability of another card, typically with the same, I want to say it's power. I don't play with symbiosis very often, so I'm not as familiar with it, and I don't play against it very often either. So you're basically using typically you would be using your symbiosis abilities to copy your faith abilities to get more faith, to do more things, to win the game. It's another kind of more cerebral kind of play style, but I think it could definitely be a lot of fun, and it could have some really interesting win conditions that you might not expect in other orbital combos or in other ways that you see the game played. Our final combo with Petraea is called Double Disruptor, and that is Petraea and Boundless, as one would expect, given that this is the last one of the combos for Petraea. And it says, nullify abilities to render your opponent's plans useless. Green has some destruction, it's got the symbiosis to copy stuff, but Boundless has a lot of nullifying, and it's got a lot of stuff that can make your opponent's field locked down. And there's a lot of fun stuff that you could do with that. I don't know 100% what everyone would do. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I just yawned. It is completely in the afternoon. But getting back to Double Disruptor. Nullify abilities, render your opponent's cards useless. And I think that's a really fun way for some people to play. From personal experience in Magic and in Wonders, it's not as fun to play against, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't play it. Just know that, if everything your opponent does is getting shut down, the likelihood that they're going to want to play with you again right after a whole bunch of times might be less. But again, if you want to play it and you're confident that you can win, that's a whole nother thing if you're, trying to win in a competition versus playing at home. So that's all the combos with Petraea. So we're going to move on to Sulfuran combos and just keep grooving through the list. Next is Quick Draw, Sulfera and Tallwind. Plan your fast attacking play with your fast attacking army and pour your energy into drawing even more. One thing that Tallwind does really well is draw cards. And I've seen a lot of people play this this orbital combo very similar to how it's played in Magic, kind of spell slingery. So for those of you who aren't familiar, there's a lot of abilities and things that take effect when somebody plays a spell or triggers something, and it's a very fast play style. It's known for, you know, getting out creatures that do damage, not big bulky creatures, but like creatures that have abilities that do stuff. Maybe there are a bunch of small creatures that you can get out quickly. Whatever it is, it's things that tend to trigger off of other things. This tends to be a very trigger heavy deck, so you have to keep track of a whole bunch of different things. And it makes sense for Sulfera and Tallwind to do the same. It also makes sense to see it as just a bunch of low energy cost cards. Oh my goodness, I need to stop yawning. I am so sorry, y'all. And, you know, just keep drawing through your deck and just draw into what you need to win as quickly as possible. After quick draw is Beasts Awakened. That is Sulfera and Umbrathine. Gain energy fast to put out huge beasts from your hand and the abyss. So, let's try. So this is kind of a thing where you're creating big creatures, big beat sticks, Goo-Ra beasts. There's some big Sulfera wonders, and a lot of these, both orbitals allow you to gain energy. There's a lot of cards that gain energy quickly and give you energy for one reason or another in both, particularly if you're sacrificing stuff and sending stuff to the abyss, which is your graveyard for those of you who need to be reminded like me. And so you can play creatures from your hand or from the abyss, and then you're getting out all these big creatures, and then you have 13 power creatures and your opponents can't do anything. So that's a really fun combo deck, where you can make big creatures. Somebody doesn't like it, they get rid of your big creature, and then you bring it back because you want it back. After that is Big Energy. That's going to be Sulfera and Heliosynth. It's play with the biggest energy to ramp up the game to unleash incredible monsters. Heliosynth does have a lot of ways to gain extra energy. Dro, Gleaming Power Cell, just a lot of cards that help you maintain energy from round to round. And then Sulfera has a lot of big monsters, and a lot of big plays, just like Heliosynth does, but you wouldn't rely as much on the faith mechanic in this color combo, I don't think. And so there's just a really interesting way to try and gain energy quickly so that you can slam out big creatures faster than your opponent and just out-resource them, out-ramp them. The last color combo with Sulfera is Sulfera and Boundless. Collect and Protect. This is where you seize stones and protect them with powerful defense and disruption. Again, this is that same sort of horde mechanic where the more stones you control, the better. And then it combos with Boundless. As I mentioned, Boundless has a lot of nullify and shut down effects. And so if you can get your engine going, get your stones gained, you can then use the nullify abilities and this disruption abilities of a lot of the Boundless cards to keep those cards and ensure that, you know, you keep your stones and that it's harder to take them from you. Next, we have Death from Above. This is going to be Tallwind and Umbrathine. This is where we're combining Flying and Death Strike to sweep across the realms, terminating your opponent's wonders. This is a way that I have tried to build a deck. I tried to like combine too many things, but it's a really fun combo and can be extremely powerful. Death Strike and Flying, put them together and you are, exactly as it says, just killing your opponent's wonders across the board. It allows you to move and attack and play across the board in whatever way works best for you. And you can move stuff, from place to place in a way that doesn't prevent you or doesn't leave you open in other spaces. It just kind of depends on, again, this is a big strategy play. You've got to understand how flying and Death Strike work to be able to make the best of it. Special delivery is Tall Wind and Heliosynth. Fly across the board, spreading chaos with your destructive equipment. So this is attaching equipment to wonders as they fly. Because there are equipments that do a lot, and a lot of the Heliosynth equipments have it tuned, you're getting not only action economy, but also from not just flying, and so you can attack with your wonders in a lot of different places, but also, you're getting the energy economy from a lot of the previously mentioned Heliosynth cards, and also you're getting the action economy of the attuned Heliosynth items. There's just a lot of fun stuff there. After that, we have Stall Wind. That's Tall Wind and Boundless. Sabotage your opponent's plans as you power up for an unstoppable endgame. So this is leaning more into the stalling effects of Tall Wind and the ascend abilities of Boundless. So a little bit different aspects than we've seen of those two orbitals in some of the other combos. Boundless has Ascend, which is, in my opinion, one of the more powerful abilities in the game, especially if you don't stop it before round 7, or you can trigger it before round 7. I have seen Ascend go off and go off hard, and people just can't do anything about it. And if you combine that with the Tall Wind ability to return opponents' wonders to hand, to send them to different realms, to stun, to, portal, all these things, you basically are shoving, pretty typically, or stunning. You can shove all your opponent's wonders into round 1, or you can stun all your opponent's wonders, and it just goes so hard to keep your opponent from playing. So, I've played against a deck that does something very similar to this. It doesn't use all the cards that I'm necessarily thinking of, but it's a very effective play style. After that, we have Faith Never Dies, which is Umbrathine and Heliosynth. Fanatics are even more fanatical the second time around. So this is, that sort of graveyard recursion from Umbrathine and the Faith mechanic from Heliosynth. If you can bring Faith cards back and play them again and get more Faith, that's great. The more Faith you have, the more you can do. And I think there's also the aspect of Death Strike here. If you can get rid of cards that are making it hard for your Faith things to do what they need to, then you make things even more complicated for your opponent. And I think, you don't have to play all these colors this way. I want to point that out. I'm thinking of that just because my main deck is Umbrathine and Heliosynth, and I do not play with the Faith mechanic at all. I play a very weird Death Strike equipment, attuned equipment, sort of make insects, give them Death Strike combo that I think works out well, but obviously there's still a lot of playing and testing to see how that goes. But I want to be clear, these are how the Wonders team has said that these are typically played. Feel free to look and see if you see them playing a different way. I wanted to be clear on that, and thinking about my deck not falling into that specific Faith Never Dies pattern reminded me of that. But I do think doing it the way Faith Never Dies, returning fanatics and using Faith abilities again and again could be really strong. Shadow Twist is next, and that is Umbrathine and Boundless. Meld the spells of light and darkness to control the realms. So there's a lot of nullifying in Boundless. We know this. I've said this a bunch. And in Umbrathine, there is a lot of destruction, destroying creatures. There's a lot of death strike, and there's just a lot of stuff that allows you to, between these two colors, to control your opponent's board by nullifying it or destroying it, and just warping what they had planned into something else in a way that people would never have expected. Or if they've played against you, they might expect it, but they still might not have a counter to it. The last orbital combo is Heliosynth and Boundless. Ride of the Valkyries is what it's called. Yes, I hear the song every time I say it. And it's use free attuned equipment and Ascend to set up an unbeatable round 7. I've talked about Ascend. I think it's one of the strongest abilities. And I think it's really powerful. And if you combined that with the energy, with the action economy of playing attuned equipments, I think it can be extremely powerful. I'd love to see like how other people feel about this. You know, there's a lot of different ways to set up and win wonders. Some decks are playing to, you know, start off strong and just keep going. This is a deck that you are likely going to see more of the losing some of the early rounds, and then come round 7, it's just a complete wipe and wash in the favor of the player playing Ride of the Valkyries. I expect that that's more how this deck would play. It's instead of slowly building, doing better, this is one of those decks where you might be taking losses throughout the game, and at the end of, you might have started controlling one realm at the start of round 7, and then you start round 7, and at the end of it you control 4 or 5 realms. So it's just a very late game style of play. And I think that's something to be aware of, is for players playing this style or playing against it. For anything with Ascend, you really have to watch Ascend abilities and be aware that the game completely changes in round 7. So those are kind of the orbital combos that Wonders of the First has put out. I think they're all really interesting. Obviously, certain color combos will call to you more based on what your playstyle is. And, you know, if you don't know what your playstyle is, that's okay. Like, it takes a little bit of time to figure out. The other thing is, you know, if you're really comfortable with one play style, I challenge you to switch it up. I learn more about whatever game I'm playing when I play in a play style that's different than what I would normally do, because it forces me to think about the game in new ways. I would love to hear in the comments, what is everybody's favorite orbital combo? Like, who's playing Tap Dance? Who's playing Stall Wind? What about Big Energy? Just let me know what you're thinking. If there's anything I missed and you feel like people should know about, just drop it in the comments. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe, and keep being your wonderful selves.